Hi, welcome to Real Flix Reviews. I'm Jonathan Charney, and he's James Stevens.
Hello.
And what we're going to be doing in this movie show is we're going to be reviewing anything from the beginning of the film era to probably this year's movies.
And we're not also limiting it to just live action. We're going to be going with anime. And that actually brings us to our first selection for this show, which is Redline. Now, this is not to be confused with the live action Redline. Don't make the same mistake I did. This one came out in 2009. The other one came out in 2007, and it's not worth a watch.
If you're wondering, though, the one in 2007 is the one where Eddie Griffin crashed that $1 million Enzo Ferrari.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny little bit, but that's about the only funny thing that came out of that movie.
Too bad. Was that actually in the movie?
No.
I didn't think so.
There is an Enzo in there, but it's not.
No, he didn't crash it in the movie.
Yeah, they didn't actually show the crash in the movie.
Darn. So, how do you want to start this?
Well, this movie is actually very interesting. Looking at some of the other commentaries and reviews on it, a few people were actually dissing it on the fact that you don't get to like the actual characters.
Which I disagree, by the way. I disagree on that.
I would go with you on that one. The fact that this person mentioned that they didn't really care who won the race. But if you actually look at how they built the characters in it, how they developed them, you only really get to like two.
Exactly.
So that's kind of what they were going with on it, is that they want you to become friends with two of them. They don't want you to become friends with all of them. That's kind of where they were going with it. So on the fact of characters and the personalities that you're going to get to like or dislike, there's not too much development in that era. In that area. That's where I can see where that person's coming from on that.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, though, that I'm not quite sure if this is about a race. Is it about the two main characters in the movie?
Well, it actually is about the race. I would actually say that it focuses on the race more than the actual characters.
Yeah, but I do agree with the guy's comment that you don't really care about the race. You care more about the people who are trying to win the race, the two main characters, than I think you do about the race itself.
Yeah, I would say that, but it kind of makes me think of more like they kind of took a little spin off of Death Race.
Oh, yeah, I'll agree.
And brought that into it. I'm not talking about the new Death Race that came out recently.
With Jason Statham.
Yeah, I mean, that's a remake of an old movie.
You're talking about the original one with Sylvester Stallone and White Chang Kang. David Carradine.
David Carradine. Because, I mean, in that movie, you didn't really give a crap about any of the characters either.
No, that's true.
I mean, they rushed you through. They kind of give you some little tidbits on backgrounds of the characters, but they don't really do any of that. And that's kind of where I see that they kind of stole that, maybe not on purpose, but they took that from Death Race and incorporated that into the Redline, along with the fact that there was weapons in the vehicle, and you could shoot at anybody you cared
the other
about.
one had weapons, too. I mean, Death Race, the first one, yeah.
Death Race, the first one, had weapons, and so did the remake with Jason Statham. And that's kind of where I see the little comparison in there. And you had a point of another movie that you kind of compared this to.
Well, the animation is even though it's CGI, it's done via computer, it's a very old style, and it really seems like it's more of like a heavy metal, like not heavy metal 2000, heavy metal from the 80s.
Yeah.
It seems like a combination between that and the anime Initial D.
Okay, I see where you're coming off on that.
At least just on the graphic style, nothing to do with the story.
The graphic style, yeah, and that's another thing that kind of annoyed me, is there was people that were saying, oh, the animation is fantastic. It's not animation, it's CGI, it's computer-generated images. And, hold on, let me finish. And it's not as groundbreaking as some reviewers online were making it out to be. It's basically, they took, and I would even go farther back than a little bit heavy metal and say Akira. Actually, I think Akira came out later. Did it come out later? Was it in the 90s or 80s?
No, Akira came out in the 80s.
Okay. Anyway, I don't remember which year I'm
pretty sure it came around the time when the Japanimation, which if you're not really sure what I'm talking about in Japanimation, that's what they used to call anime before it came out.
Yeah,
became it for really popular in the States back in the 80s.
Well, I see a lot of the monsters that they drew in there, the actual aliens and other things that they drew in Redline, kind of familiar with Akira. Some of the big, weird kind of movements that they had.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you that.
Some of the movements on it were more reminiscent of Akira than I would say heavy metal. A lot of the characters that were more like human style.
Well, the creatures were more heavy metal,
and that were a little bit more heavy metal. So it's a kind of a mix of those two animation styles.
I'll definitely give you that
mixed together. So they did a lot of homage back to the old style. Which was kind of cool.
It's definitely mixed between, I'd say, 80s animation style and 90s.
Yeah, but the storyline was a little bit holy, to be honest. I mean, you never really understood the main characters' backgrounds. They kind of give you little snippets of it, but they don't really go into too much of it.
It's almost like they had more of the movie, but they decided to cut it out. Because there's one part where they give a flash of some guy in a car with a chick. But it's a couple of flashes, and it almost seems like that should be somewhat important. I mean, my guess is what it's doing is it's showing like this is a dream, that this is what he aspired to be, or this is somebody he saw he wanted to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would seem like a little bit more of his little inspiration story thing where he's staring at this racer that he has. You have no idea who this person is, but he keeps staring at him like this was a big influence in his life, maybe like a father figure or something like that, and you're like, well, okay, you can go away with that.
But they don't really. I wish they gave a little bit more of that, because I think if they expounded a little bit more on the back end of the story, I think it would help some people care a little bit more.
Yeah, well, my thing is this seemed like a little bit more of like an OVA storyline than an actual anime movie.
No, I'll agree. I think it has the more OVA style than it does.
And what we mean by OVA, if you aren't familiar with that, is we're discussing like what an OVA is. It's a movie that's placed in usually at the end of an anime series, just kind of giving you a recap of kind of everything that's going on, cutting it down into an hour or something instead of having about like 30-minute episodes.
There has been a few. There are a few examples of that it came out before. The Shadow Skill OVA came out before the series. I'm pretty sure the Record of the Lotus War OVA came out before the series. Sometimes I think they use it to see if there's any interest in it before they put out the money of doing a full-fledged series.
Yeah. But generally what it does is it takes little parts of each one and condenses it and gives you an idea of what it's going to be.
It can take
what it was.
Multiple episode series into an hour, 2 hour, 30-minute segment.
Yeah. Basically, that's what the OVA is.
Exactly.
Except for the fact the Rurouni Kenshin OVAs were broken up into 3 sections.
Well, the series is so long. I mean, you don't really have a choice.
You say long. It was only 95 episodes. Something like that. About 95 episodes.
I mean, it's not like Naruto that's up like 500.
Bleach or Naruto, I mean, it's like...
Yeah.
How many OVAs would that take to kind of condense those?
A lot. But, I don't think they're going to do that, though. But it's just, I think it's hard to take a 95-episode series and combine it into 2 hours. Because you're ruining so much of the story and the richness of the backgrounds and the characters they give you that I don't think it would be possible to do it in a 2-hour segment.
So you're thinking Redline might become a series on its own, or you think it's done with just this movie? I mean, it came out, 3 years ago now?
Part of me, it's 2009, and it does have a 7.3 out of 10 IMDb rating, which isn't the best, but, for IMDb, it's actually pretty good.
Well, like I always say, is IMDb, their rating system, I understand it. They supposedly use a little equation based on so many people and
it's an algorithm.
Comments. It's all in this algorithm that they come out with this rating. But my thing about it is it's user-based.
Yeah. So
you have some moron that gets in there and rates a movie that should be about 8 with a 1, and then they go to a movie that should be rated at a 3 and rated at a 10. So there's so much that you need to take into account on just looking at an IMDb rating that you really can't go by what it says.
Yeah, but
it can give you a general idea of whether or not you're going to like it, but as far as I'm concerned, the IMDb rating is not a good system to be going by.
No, I'll agree. It's a good kind of, okay, I'll like it, okay, I won't. It gives you an idea. If other people like it, you might. I will say, far as I liked the movie, I mean, I really do. This is the second time I've seen it. As far as a series, they'd have to give you a lot more, I think, for people to fall in love with it. Well, for 2 hours, or it's an hour and 42 minutes, so it's under an hour and a half. No.
Hour and
45 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say hour and 45 minutes is a little over.
Yeah.
Hour and a half.
Well,
I don't know. I've seen the movie twice as well. I don't dislike the movie. I'm not raving about the movie.
Would you though sit through 26 episodes?
Would I sit through 26 episodes?
And it would be talking about, and if this is what I would do if I directed the series, I would have it from the very beginning of the history to the ending. To like the beginning where you not as a kid, but where you introduce him as on the Yellow Line Raceway.
Okay. There were some things in there that might be interesting, but as you know, I'm not really into the racing shows. I would probably give it a shot, although I'm not really into that style of anime. The drawing for 26 episodes would probably get annoying for me.
I'll definitely give you that. After a while, it would be a little grating, I think.
And the other thing is his hairstyle would just drive me nuts.
Yeah, he has this giant, like, Elvis style. I mean, it goes out to here. There's a scene in the movie where he puts his head down and it's touching the table.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's like super Elvis style.
Yeah. There are some points in there that would be kind of interesting. He is supposedly like the bad boy and has some, grew up on the streets is kind of what they hint. So there could be some interesting things as far as that goes. But for 26 episodes, maybe. It would be all about how they did it. If they give you a good storyline. If they don't, then it will just go kaput.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think you're right. I think it would be 13 episodes, maybe. 26 is a lot.
Well, that's a normal anime, is what, 26 episodes?
It's generally 25, 26, yeah.
For a season, it's usually about that high. But honestly, rating style, do we want to give it a rating?
If you haven't seen it, I would watch it. I don't know if I would pay. I definitely wouldn't see this in theaters. If you find it on HBO, I'd say watch it. I mean, I don't know if I would rent it for standard $5 pricing. Well,
I would say it's worth a watch, but it's not an immediate watch.
I agree. If you find it somewhere and it, I'd say watch it on TV. I would, however, watch this over the Redline with Eddie Griffin.
Oh yeah.
Because that movie was horrible.
Yeah, I made the mistake of actually looking for Redline, and I found that one first. I would definitely give you watch that over Redline or a lot of other movies. If you actually do find that you have an hour and 43 minutes to spend, I would sit down and say watch it if you don't have anything of priority.
Exactly. I agree.
It's not priority, but it's something that is actually would be worth a watch.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
I think is the baseline for something. I think, Jenny, for you and I, is if it's entertaining,
The ships and styles like that, the actual fantasy kind of different styles of the ships is actually very interesting to see the functionality of what they've come up with in future alien relations.
It's well thought out. I mean,
yes.
the animation style, each people have its own style. It's not, everybody's the same. I got to give that. That's very well done.
Yeah, they did put a lot of thought into it, which is actually pretty cool. The different relations that they have with different planets, things like that, they kind of play into there a little bit, not so much, but it's actually very interesting. They don't just limit it to just weird creatures. They have cyborgs,
thankfully,
and,
yeah,
AI, things like that. Actually, one thing that kind of did drive me a little bit weird was the police officers on that world. The little floating.
Oh yeah,
enforcement officers.
I didn't get that.
That was kind of interesting, but that's something that you would have to take into your own little consideration. I say watch the movie, figure out what you like and what you don't like, and if you like, you can always comment on the video. Yeah,
we generally post these to YouTube and our website. The website's theogt.tv. And please comment, and if you want to get a hold of us, it's info@theogt.tv, and we'd love to interact with you. And we are going to watch a movie. What's the movie you've decided on?
I don't think you want to watch that movie, but it's
no, I don't. But
we're going to be looking at Drive next week. And was that released this year or last year?
It was released last year. I think it was 2011.
Yeah, it's going to be the new Drive 2011, I believe. You can look it up on IMDb, and then you can see what movie we're going to be rating. If you want to check it out, we're going to give you a whole week. before we rate it, so you can watch it and hear our views and see if you agree or disagree.
And we occasionally will hopefully have more other people besides James and I to be in here.
Yes.
We're hoping a friend of ours will join us if we can get him up. That is.
If we can get him up, or if we can manage to Skype him in, we'll be able to have another co-host.
And he's like us. He's another movie. He's another movie nut who, has his different takes on it. I don't always agree with him, but
well, that's the point. Is you're not supposed to agree. All movie taste is different.
I just think mine is a little
unique
better.
To everybody else. You can. That's your opinion. I can be wrong. It is okay for you to be wrong, John.
I don't know if I could say my movie's taste is better, considering some of the movies I own personally.
Well,
well, thank you for watching episode 1 of Real Flix Reviews. I really hope you enjoy the series, and I hope we get a good interaction between the community. What we think was, what we really want to do is, help introduce people to movies, not just the movies of today, but the movies of, yesterday. Whether we're talking about, Lincoln in Illinois, made, 1940, 1950s, to Metropolis, to the latest sucktastic Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yeah, our goal for this whole series is just to open you up and get you involved in movies that you may have never thought you would like, may have never wanted to watch, but you've been interested. That's the goal.
And we'll be honest. If we don't like a movie, we'll tell you. I mean, there's no reason why we wouldn't. I mean,
there are thousands upon hundreds of thousands of movies that are horrible out there.
And most of them have come out in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching episode 1. This is Real Flix Reviews with Jonathan Charney and James Stevens.